For the viewers, you know exactly why I'm getting a round of applause right now. If you've been following, you probably know. They're still going, so who am I to stop? I've got a haircut. That's what it is. So welcome to episode 7 of the Feel for Football podcast. I am your host, Sanchez, and I'm actually quite excited for this episode because it's something that I feel like every player can apply any period of the season. And so even if you're in off season right now, even if you're starting, it's like a mini pre-season, this is something that you can apply. And that's reviewing your performance. And there's so much that I can really offer today. And then I got to condense it into a 25-minute episode. And then I got to condense it into 3 chats today. So today I'm going to be speaking to Marcus Harness of Portsmouth. So he's a winger for Portsmouth, and get his thoughts on the whole concept of reviewing your performance. But then also I'm going to speak to the Feel for Football analysis department. And so they have an analysis team which is dedicated to working with individuals. And so it's going to be good to get different perspectives on the whole concept of reviewing your performance. The aim of this podcast, from my perspective, is for you to change the way that you see reviewing your performance. And that will make sense in a moment, but then also for you to have active, practical steps that you're able to implement on a weekly basis, you know? And so why do I say that I want to change the way that you see reviewing your performance? The first thing I want to get out there is that us as human beings, we're very critical of ourselves. And that's just because we strive for perfection, and I don't know why we do this, but as humans, we always strive for perfection. So anything that threatens perfection, we highlight it and maximize it. And so as a result, when we're even looking at ourselves and we're reviewing our performance, we are overly critical. Another reason why we're overly critical is because what we don't want to do as human beings, especially in England, we don't want to appear too confident or too cocky. So what we do, we make sure that we broadcast areas that we are not happy with to show that we are not overconfident and we're not cocky. So I think that that's one of the reasons as well. But we want to change that and smash that. And so reviewing your performance is going to be something that I'm going to introduce that is very praiseworthy as well as very constructive. So not critical at all. And why do I say that? Because if we think about the whole concept of playing football or even doing anything, we are made to fault because we're human beings. We're not robots. And so because of that, we need to just accept that there's going to be things that are not going to go the way that we need it to go. As a result, what we do is highlight the things that went really well and highlight the things that you want to do less frequently. So before we even get to reviewing your performance, it's very important for you to identify what happened to you during the week. So I'm going to use an example now, and then hopefully it'll make more sense. So I think back to, it might have been 2-3 seasons ago now, where we saw one of the most glorious overhead kicks in football. And that was Cristiano Ronaldo against Juventus, to the point where the Juventus fans started applauding Ronaldo. And that was beautiful to see. And pictures were merged during the week that he was actually training and he actually practiced those overhead kicks that he actually displayed in the game. I think back to a video that Aubameyang actually put out there. So if you follow me on social media, you actually see, I'll pull it out there and repost it. Aubameyang actually scored a glorious header, and he actually said that was a product of what he was doing in training, you know. And so what I'm trying to say is that it's important for you to be mindful of what happened during your week that could easily have contributed to your performance and your output on a match day. And so there might be some things that might have been going on the pitch. You might have been practicing and creating habits. There might have been a lack of habits that you might have been creating. But it also could have been some events off the field as well that may have contributed to your mood subconsciously, which may have affected you on the pitch. And so the first thing that we need to do is make sure that when we're reviewing our game, that we're giving ourselves equal and equivocal feedback. Right, so I've got a pack here out there, so if anybody would like to see the pack, I can send it over to them, where you're giving yourself feedback. But if you give yourself 2 elements that you've done well and successfully performed, that you was quite proud of, then you're only giving yourself 2 elements of your game that you need to develop and work on, and you want to do less frequently. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself equal feedback, positive and more constructive. Why? Because it shows that you're giving yourself the same amount of praise as well as development tasks. Okay, so in a way you're making sure that you're becoming less critical of yourself and not too praiseworthy. So it's retraining your mind to become a lot more constructive with the information that you're giving yourself. In my performance evaluation pack, I've actually broken down feedback. So you're going through the successful things that you've done well and the things that you want to do less frequently. I've also got the physical aspect and then the psychological. So there's mental things that go on during a game, and a lot of times some athletes, they may struggle with handling mistakes. Maybe it might be that your head went down when there might have been a circumstance in a match that didn't go in your favor. So it's those elements there, or even you might have kept yourself consistent. You was very motivated. Like there's aspects there that you can definitely comment on that you done well psychologically, as well as things that you want to do less frequently. So it's good for you to divide your performance in a physical and a psychological form of a review. A lot of the time, some people don't like watching their performances. There are industries out there that do review your performance for you, like the analysis team. But also at the same time, you can also just do a self-reflection. You know yourself best, but it's important for you to take ownership in terms of your own feedback. Why? Because no one else in this world can give you 100% attention other than yourself. So the analysis team at your football club, they cannot give you, or they do not often give every single individual 100% analysis on their game, because it'll take too much time. So the only way that you can review yourself is, or review yourself to great detail, or get feedback in great detail, is reviewing yourself, reviewing what you did on the pitch. So you can either do that by watching footage back, or you can really reflect and take time and really think about your game and just cast your mind back to those moments where you felt like you've done successful elements and done the things that you did less frequently. The reason why I would encourage you guys to slowly become a little bit more, I don't want to say administrative, because I don't want it to seem like it's an essay and you're doing too much extra work. But the reason why it's good for you to write this down is because in your mind you can easily forget some things that actually went on during the game. But then also, because of the way that we're programmed, if you're a bit more praiseworthy of yourself, or if you're a bit more critical, you may think a lot more on those particular instances in a game. So it's important for you to write down, so you at least giving yourself clear space for you to write down the things that you've done well, and then write down the things that you didn't do so well. And I hope that makes sense, because that's golden information there. And I've got a scoring system, which I don't know if I have enough time to go over in great detail, but it's 1 to 5. Now, typically, if it's 1 to 5, or even if it's 1 to 10, typically with a scoring system, we always give ourselves a safe score, right? It's usually a 7 or 8 out of 10, typically. And so I want to kind of like smash that and kind of define some of the scoring systems that we give ourselves, so that we can be a little bit more meaningful in terms of the information that we're giving. So I've written it down here, and I've got a whole pack. So if you feel like you would like something that's a bit more visual and a bit more set in stone and a template for you, I'm more than happy to provide you with one. Just contact me. I'm also going to do a separate breakdown of how we score ourselves in the game. I'm going to do that on social media, so look out for that. I think it's quite a decent breakdown. And lastly, we're looking at action plans. So once you've identified the things that you've done well and very successfully, and then you've identified the things you want to do less consistently, now you've got 5 days to go and implement that in training. So having training within the week allows you to start practicing the things that you want to start implementing a lot more in your game. And then the very thing that you want to do less consistently, you can start working on the task that will allow you to at least not do that very thing less consistently. That makes sense. Wait, less consistently? Yeah, I think that's the right way of saying it. So yeah, so you want to be able to at least make sure that you set action plans for the things that you want to work on and the things that you want to work on less frequently. So you want to identify those things and really create those habits within the week of training. Okay, so we're going to move on now and speak to our guests, and I look forward to hearing what both of them have to offer. So I'm here now with Maurice from the FIFA Football department team, the analysis department team, shall I say. How you doing, my man? Thank you for your time.
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm good. The weather's improving here, so it's always good to have that going on. And so I just wanted to take your time and kind of get into get some information from you in terms of what the analysis department does, what they're responsible for, and what they look for, because I think it'd be good for players to know that there is someone out there that does in-depth analysis for them.
Yeah, exactly, and looking forward to explain it as well. So yeah, each member of our analysis team watch our players full 90 minutes game match, making notes and coding for specific situations. And well, after it finishes, we have a conversation about the key points from the performance and make our conclusion for what the player needs to address in training and future matches. And during the coding, writing, and annotating process, we use several platforms which are highly professional and the same as the top major professional clubs and scouts too. And we also have our systems, but they are a bit more private, but that factor into the analysis. So particularly with the pre-match analysis, because we know our players inside out, including their average strength and weaknesses, we ensure that these analyses allow them to exploit their advantages over the opposition and also prevent situations where they would be at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the post-match, we analyze off to intent. So we know exactly what our players were trying to do and can consider how successful they were. So this is something that is often forgotten in analysis, but really important.
I like the fact that you said that you know your players inside out. So I guess when you're doing an analysis, it's good for you to kind of know and take time to build like information on the player, so you know who he's like, what he's like, what even she's like, and what their intentions are typically like on the pitch. How long does that process take for you?
The process, do you mean, what do you mean exactly?
So how long does it take you to analyze someone's game and give them feedback?
Okay. To analyze someone's game, I think, yeah, a couple of hours. So as the analysis team, as I mentioned before, we come together and then make conclusions afterwards. So that takes a bit of time. And then we have got the other systems involved, which takes us a bit of time as well. Yeah.
So you're telling me within a few days, maybe 1 or 2 days, it's all done?
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite impressive.
The same for pre-match opposition analysis and post-match analysis.
Okay, so you do a pre-match analysis on the opposition as well as the player as well. So you give them insight into maybe some of the weaknesses of the team, which is pretty impressive.
Many of our players tell us that they have never received so much, as much attention in detail as they do with us. So we know that we know that our players are really smart, intelligent footballers, and we are also really specific. Like I said before, the analysis and feedback is completely individualized, like you said. And so even when we make the same point to two different players, there will be differences in the way we explain based on what the player already knows and does well, and what they don't. And lastly, and most importantly, our analysis is always actionable. So there are no points which are made without clarity for how to actually improve or become more consistent in the action. Our players can always go away with the knowledge of what they will do next. They always can drop us a message at both accounts if they're interested, and that's it. We've got two Instagrams, the @Fuel4Football and the analysis one, @Fuel4Football Analysis.
I appreciate your time and the information that you have got. Again, I do echo, you have your own Instagram page, the Fuel for Football Analysis Department, so you are accessible. But listen, take care, my man. All the best.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so this is the post-production recording. So I spoke to Marcus and it was a good conversation, and there was a lot of gems that we got there without me actually formally recording. Good thing is that I recorded it on the Zoom, so I'm going to put the chat there, but there's no formal introduction, so we're just going to get straight into it. So let me formally introduce Marcus now. So he's playing in his first full season at Portsmouth. He's a winger, he's got himself and his team into the EFL Trophy final at Wembley. Hopefully that will happen soon. He actually started his career at Burton Albion, so from the youth academy ranks, and developed himself to the point where he got himself attention and signed by Portsmouth. Went on loan to Port Vale during that time as well. So let's chat to him, and hopefully you get a little bit more into his mind and how he perceives the whole concept of reviewing performance.
That's what you definitely have. Like, I'm reading a book now called With Winning in Mind.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I'm gonna write that down.
It's a good one. Like I like reading, but then like sometimes I'll be recommended a book and it's kind of a graft to get through. But this one is good, and it's like sports based as well.
Right.
And like he talks about like your self image, and stuff like how you'll only perform as well as your self-image lets you. So even if you've got the ability, if you don't think you're the type of person who does this, like if you feel like you're the type of person who messes up when you need to, like you're through on goal in the last minute, if you think you're the type of person that's gonna mess up, or you think like you will. But if your self-image is, I'm the type of person who, I'll just score there, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
Like your ability will go to where it can be, You shouldn't reinforce the negatives.
Right.
And I'm guilty of it a lot. I beat myself up too much, and I have done for a long time. And like, I'm not perfect. Obviously, I'm trying to implement these things, trying to learn these things. But even like the last few weeks, just after reading this book, it's like just not reinforcing the negatives. Like if you do a bad thing and go, oh, like that's reinforcing it, and it's going to make it more likely that you do it again. Like you need to reinforce the positives. And like when you said about this podcast going to be about analyzing yourself, like I don't know if I analyze my game too. I don't know if I've got loads to say about that, because like I've tried to get myself to like watch my games and stuff like that, and when I do really well, I can watch, but I really struggle to watch myself do bad. But I know that's what I need to watch, but I do struggle to do that. Like, but then since I've read this book, he says not to, or not to as much anyway. He says to just reinforce the positives, to big up your self-image,
Absolutely, and I appreciate your honesty, and that doesn't in any way put me off in terms of thinking, oh no, like I don't even want you to even say things that you haven't done. Like we can talk about it naturally in a sense where, let's just say you can watch yourself when you play well all day long, great. We can also have a conversation of how much it's important for you to not see it as bad things.
Just things that you need to work on.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily bad, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because one of the things we also need to realize, which I don't know if I've done a podcast topic on it already, is handling mistakes. And a lot of the times, as you just said, that you kind of beat yourself up a bit again. That's human nature, because we're just almost designed to be focusing on the negatives because we always strive for perfection, which I don't know why. So, like in terms of us working and looking at our performances, it's more about identifying the areas you did well and the areas that you want to improve on. You know? And once that mentality kind of shifts, it's not looking at the negatives, because we already know, like, our success rate in football is never 100%. There's always going to be bits that you don't actually, successfully achieve. How would you kind of like describe your season so far, but like pre-pandemic?
It's been up and down, to be fair. I've been a bit disappointed at times not to play as much as I'd like to, but it's been all right. Like we struggled a lot, and then we ended up doing quite well, and obviously we've ended up in the playoffs now, so we've got a good chance to go up. And I've got a decent amount of goals with assists, so I've been pretty happy. Obviously, would like to play more, but whenever I have done, I don't think I've done terribly bad, and I've contributed. So that's what I'm there to do, really, isn't it? So
interestingly, like you say that when you've played, you've done well enough, and I've seen some of like obviously I take my time to know who I'm speaking to as well, but I've seen from your interviews, you are quite analytical when you speak. I don't know if you notice it about yourself when you play. So when you kind of said that you've done well in your matches, what gives you that feeling? What kind of things do you identify? Do you base success from your actual goals or assists, or let's just say that doesn't happen in any game? How do you know you've played well?
Personally, obviously, I'd go off like just getting, because of the type of player I am, like, I don't know, like creating chances, really. Like sometimes there'll be times where you create loads and you might not score, or you might not get an assist, or the team might lose or whatever. Like it might just be a day, but then like that might be a good day. But then you can have days where you might not play too well and then you score the winner. So it's like it's hard to just like it's hard to it varies. But usually I feel like if I've done well, like if I've done well, because I'm so critical of myself as well, if I feel like I've done all right, I'm usually quite at peace with that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's quite interesting, like just using your example as a pro footballer and converting it to the strategy of you being able to review yourself as effective as you can. Like, I'm not trying to get people to really become like essay students. Like, that's not what I'm trying to get you to do, but it's good to take a conscious effort for you to develop yourself. Like, just think about you being in the gym, you developing on your speed and your agility and stuff. That's like physical gym work. And what we're doing here is essentially like mindset work. Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying that to say that it's identifying specific points in your game which were plausible, so to speak, and then identifying parts of your game that weren't so plausible. And the fact that you just said that you might have a bit of a mare but scored a winner, you're identifying specific things that were very good and plausible, and then maybe you didn't get a shot off, or you got no shots off in the game, you didn't really get many crosses in or whatever. You're identifying what you want to become more frequent in your game, you know? So that's where I feel like, I don't think people get it wrong, but I feel like this is where you can really get specific in terms of giving yourself feedback, which is very critical, but also constructive. How much do you think the week that you can have can contribute to your competitive, let's just say match day on a weekend, for instance?
I think it's obviously important, and that's why they try and get us into routines and stuff. I feel like just having the same routine, or if you see things that you need to be doing better, or if you're not in the team and you're seeing the person in front of you is getting 10 crosses in every game, and you feel like I need to do that, then doing that in training is definitely a big thing. And like you see like players like Robin and stuff who they've done the same thing for their whole career. You know what they're going to do, but you can't stop them. Like if you're doing these things over and over again, when you get into a game, it's just second nature, and you're just gonna have the mental and technical advantage.
So appreciate your time and everything you've said, and you being open and honest. I think I've definitely gone over the time I promised in terms of speaking to you. So I want to make sure you enjoy the rest of the day. The weather seems to be okay. But listen, all the best, and it'll be good to see how you get on, and we'll stay in touch for sure. All right, take care, my man.
Thank you.
Nice one. Bye. So it's great speaking to Marcus and Maurice about reviewing performance, and I just really want to reinforce some key take-home messages, and that's literally how you start reviewing yourself. So typically we give ourselves strengths and weaknesses. It's not weaknesses. That needs to be eradicated from our thinking. It needs to be identified as things that you want to develop or things that you want to do less frequently, which then leads to you creating yourself action plans that you apply in the week. And by doing that, you're at least giving yourself things that you're constantly working on and you're always developing. And that's something that I really hope that some players, or hopefully everybody listening, can apply and take and almost change the way that you critique yourself, so it's more empowering rather than you becoming more damning to yourself. And football's back now, which is exciting, so I hope everyone can start applying that. It's going to be Monday, so people listening will start applying on Monday. Maybe if you watched on Wednesday, you've got a match day coming up, so you can start applying this and really get in a great habit, so that when you do get into the thick of things in terms of competition, you can be sharp and very experienced in handling this process. All right, so take care. On to the next episode, and I look forward to touching base with you guys. Bye bye.